Hey, I'm Garrard. I'm the professor who's undertaking the Kelownafornia Project.
And I'm Madeline Donald, a PhD student working with Brandt Creek.
Tell us about the creek, which we can't see the water, but we can see the reeds of Brandt Creek right now.
So Brandt Creek was created as a solution to the wetness, which was occupying the space between downtown Kelowna and the base of Knox Mountain. And that marshy floodplain that existed here before the creek was created was channelized and turned into what we now know as Brandt Creek.
So Brandt Creek, which is what became of the wetland area between downtown and Knox Mountain, it was all channelized into this narrow, basically looks like a ditch, goes under a bunch of roads, goes through some culverts, and although there are signs of life here that are thriving, that Maddie loves and wants to draw attention to, it's a lot less than it could be. So she can tell us what some of these plants are that we can see right here.
So we have a bunch of roses right behind us. Further upstream, we have quite a lot of dogwood, red osier dogwood, also known as red willow. You see snowberry and Siberian elm and
rosehip.
And a lot of different varieties of willow, some of which have been planted by different restoration projects and some of which have planted themselves. There are cottonwoods, a few little baby cottonwoods. Way upstream, you see Oregon grape and knapweed and clover and mustard and lots of different grasses.
Foreign things and native things, even if we don't love those categories. So these reeds that you can see here, the sort of brownish upstanding reeds, these are tule. So tell us what tule is.
So tule is a really important construction plant for seal folk who would use them to create mats, and you can learn a lot more about this by visiting places like Sweeps, the museum on the west side. So these reeds would grow in these low-lying marshy habitats and be harvested annually, and they have a really interesting spongy quality that allows them to absorb water and engorge and then let water out and become smaller.
So I saw a tule mat house that had been put up, a shelter structure, and it was incredible. It was cool inside, even though it was a fiercely hot day. It was just an amazing structure. So tell us what is managing to survive here now.
So of sort of classical riparian plants for the valley, we have a bunch of roses. There are cattails and tule all along the valley bottom stretch of the creek, which also would have existed in its marshy floodplain being. You see occupied this space a lot of Siberian elm. So Siberian elm is a tree that people love to hate, though it also does do the service of creating shade and keeping the creek cool, and also creating places for people and other beings to be cool in the summer under its canopy. There's quite a bit of dogwood along a little bit upstream from where we're standing now, and a couple of pretty healthy hawthorns. You see some heron fishing for carp. There are quite a lot of carp.
A surprising amount of life continuing here, of different plants and animals. It still is a kind of vestigial wildlife corridor. When I lived up at the end of Brandt Avenue, we saw a coyote there. There was a young bear that lived in the woods next to us. So even with this sort of narrow channel that goes through culverts and has not had much love and attention paid to it, there's still a good deal of life. So if we could do something much more intentional with this to enhance the riparian areas, it could be something really, really incredible.
I've also seen deer and great horned owl a little bit upstream. So something that is important to note is that by creating a coherent flow of water, it facilitates the growth of tall trees. So in its marshy floodplain state, tall trees would not have been seen in this part of the valley. It would have been lower lying plants like dogwood, like water birch, like tule and cattail, and some marshy grasses. And the tall trees are an indication that this is a becoming riparian habitat, in that the waterways is being contained and constrained, and that's a reality of the urban state that we're in.
What we're imagining is making more space for the creek, giving it a lot more elbow room to move around, and then putting in amenity spaces, whether they are for wildlife or for human life, whether it's for sculpture or performance or for cafes, just turning this from an unloved part of town into an area that is that brings together the different parts of the city. Because from here we've got downtown over there, we've got North End here, we've got the mill site that's being redeveloped, and here at the center of it we have Brandt's Creek. And this could really be, instead of being a kind of gap in the map that most people don't know about, instead it could be something that really brings the city together and is a signature project of environmental and cultural restoration.